Hey everyone, welcome back to On the Edge, where we talk about the stories that don't just entertain, but stick in your brain and make you question everything. I'm Gunnar.
And I'm Jacob.
And I'm Andy. So today's episode might feel like a weird combo at first. We're talking about three really different stories. Parasite, the 2019 film by Bong Joon-ho, The Dark Knight Returns, a gritty Batman comic from the 80s, and The Marquis of O, a novel from the early 1800s.
Yeah, and I know what you're thinking. What do those even have in common? One's a modern movie about class, the other's a superhero fighting crime, and the last is a historical drama about a woman caught up in a scandal. But when we dug into them, it hit us. They're all about power, class, and the cages people get stuck in.
Totally. Each story shows how society kind of hands you a script, who you're supposed to be, where you belong. And if you try to change that script, even for good reasons, it doesn't usually end well.
Let's start with Parasite. The Kim family lives in this tiny half-basement apartment. They're barely scraping by. Then they see an opening, the Parks, a rich family who needs tutors and staff. So the Kims fake their way in. New identities, fake resumes, and the whole deal.
And it works for a while, but the cracks start to show, right? There's a moment where Mr. Park talks to Mr. Kim about smell. He says, "The smell crosses the line." That line, it's the invisible wall between the rich and poor, and it's not something you can just wash off.
That'd be hard, because no matter how well the Kims act or dress or play their parts, that one comment reminds us they don't belong in their house. Not really. The system lets them visit but never stay.
It's that same feeling in the Marquis of O. She's a noble woman, so technically high status, but then she gets pregnant under mysterious circumstances. Instead of protecting her, society basically tosses her out. It's desperate. She's trying to take her story back, but no one's listening.
Yeah, her being a woman makes it even worse. People already assume she's guilty. There's no room for her to explain or even figure out what really happened. Her title doesn't matter anymore. It's just like with the Kims, status is fragile and conditional.
Then we get to The Dark Knight Returns. Now this one flips the dynamic. Bruce Wayne's rich, he's powerful. He disappears for a while, then comes back as Batman when Gotham starts falling apart. He doesn't wait for permission, he just does it.
But is he actually fixing anything? I mean, yeah, he's beating up bad guys, scaring criminals, making headlines, but in the end, he's just a new version of control. He becomes a myth, a symbol, and people are more scared than inspired. He's not freeing the city, he's owning it.
Right, it's just like he's using the same tools the system uses, fear, violence, power, but is pointing them in a different direction, so he doesn't escape the system, he becomes another part of it.
So that's what ties these three stories together. Different times, places, and characters, but they're all asking the same big question. Can you actually break free from your place in society?
And more than that, what does it even mean to break free? If you fake your way up like the Kims, get disowned like the Marquis, or become a dark symbol like Bruce Wayne, are you really outside the system or just playing a different role inside it?
Alright, let's kick things off with one of the clearest themes in Parasite. Where you live isn't just about your location, it's about power. The Kim family lives in a semi-basement. It's cramped, damp, and practically underground. You can see the feet of people walking past their only window. It's not just physical space, it's societal position.
Meanwhile, the Park family lives in this gorgeous, spacious home up on a hill. Big windows, clean lines, private gate. It's not just about having more, it's about being above. Literally, they're physically elevated. And they never have to look down, except when they're looking at people like the Kims. The house isn't just a setting, it's a symbol of kind of life that's completely out of reach for most people.
That contrast got me thinking about the Dark Knight Returns. Bruce Wayne's Batcave is underground too, but here's the difference. He controls it. He chooses to go below and when to rise above. He's got full access of both worlds. Society's systems don't trap him. He uses them, and that's a privilege the Kims don't have.
Totally. They're below the surface, both physically and economically, and they don't get to leave unless someone above lets them in. There's that scene where Mr. Kim says, "You know what kind of plan never fails? No plan at all." You know why? Because life cannot be planned. That line hits hard because it shows how powerless he feels. People like the Parks can plan their lives with confidence. The Kims, they're just reacting to whatever scraps they get.
It's the same vibe in the Marquis of O. The Marquis starts the story in a place of social privilege. She's respected, she's standing, but when she becomes pregnant, society doesn't care about her title anymore. She gets kicked out, like she's fallen through a trapdoor she didn't even know was there.
Exactly. All these stories show how your place isn't just metaphorical, it's real. It's material, and it shapes how others treat you, and how you see yourself. Steps out of that space, even accidentally, and the system reminds you real quick who gets to live above and who stays below. Let's talk about the rain scene in Parasite. It's one of those moments that just hits you in the gut. On the surface, it's just bad weather, right? But in the way it affects the two families, man, it says everything about class. The Parks are mildly inconceived. Their fancy camping trip gets rained out, and they go home to their warm, dry mansion. That's it.
Yeah, meanwhile, the Kims are literally drowning. Their basement home floods with sewage and a few belongings are destroyed. They have to sleep in a gym full of other displaced people. It's heartbreaking. And the way Bong Joon-ho shoots the scene, it's not just sad, it's violent. The water rising isn't just water, it's life crashing in on them.
That's what makes it so powerful. It's not just a storm, it's a metaphor. The same weather event, but two completely different experiences. For the rich, it's a delay. For the poor, it's a disaster. You get this sense that nature doesn't hit everyone equally because society has already put people in different places before the storm ever showed up.
It's an idea that the same world can be lived in completely different ways. The Kims are under the surface, literally. They live underground. They scramble when the flood hits, and they still show up the next day for work acting like nothing happened because they have to. They don't have the luxury to process trauma.
Exactly. That brings me to The Dark Knight Returns. Gotham's falling apart. Crime, poverty, riots, it's all over the place. And Bruce Wayne living through it too, but in a totally different way. He's got resources, armor, tools. He doesn't just survive the storm, he dominates it. There's that scene where Commissioner Gordon says, "We live in the shadow of crime, Bruce. The world only makes sense if you force it." That line really stuck with me.
Yeah, because it shows you Bruce's power. He gets to impose order on the chaos. The Kims can't force anything. They're at mercy of whatever comes their way. And the Parks, they don't even see the storm. They just complain about the wet lawn that, quote, sums up privilege. If you have enough power, the world doesn't have to make sense. You just bend it your will.
It's the same thing in the Marquise of O. The storm there is social, not physical, but just as devastating. One day the Marquise is seen as a noble woman. The next, she's a cast out. Her father disowns her without even letting her explain. She doesn't know how she got pregnant. The story isn't just about shame. It's about how fast the system can turn on you when you're no longer playing by its rules.
Yeah, and she's stuck. Her title, her family name, none of it protects her. And she tries to reclaim her voice. She publishes that newspaper ad basically begging for the father of her child to come forward. What's wild is that the people around her aren't even interested in the truth. They just want her gone.
It's just like the Kims. One slip up and suddenly they're not invisible. They're a threat. That's when the Parks cut them off. The second you stop playing the role that expected of you, you're out.
So all three of these stories show the same thing. Storm hits everyone, but they don't affect everyone at the same time. Where you are literally and socially changes everything. The wealthy float, the rest try to breathe.
All right, so this is the big question. Maybe the question. After everything these characters go through, the floods, the smells, the judgment, do they ever actually escape? Can anyone really get out of this social role they were born into?
In Parasite, it feels like the Kim family is giving it everything they got. They're smart, they're adaptable, they learn fast, they blend in almost flawlessly. For a while, you kind of root for them like, yeah, game the system, why not? But then the truth creeps in. They actually can't change who they are. The moment one thing goes wrong, when they lose control of the basement secret, when Mr. Kim overhears Mr. Park talking about a smell, it all crashes down and it crashes fast.
In that ending, it's one of the most haunting things I've seen. Mr. Kim literally disappears into the underground, hiding in the hidden bunker beneath the house. His son, Ki-woo, imagines buying the house one day and rescuing his father, and for a second you think, maybe there's hope. But then we cut back to reality, and that hope is shattered. He's still in that semi-basement, still dreaming. His Bong Joon-ho is saying, "You're not escaping, you're recycling the dream." That's why the line, "You know what kind of plan ever fails? No plan at all," hits so hard. It's not cynicism, it's survival.
Exactly. The system doesn't just trap you, it convinces you to trap is a ladder.
Now, the Marquise from the Marquise of O, her situation is totally different on the surface, but underneath, it's the same game. She starts with status, she's noble, she's supposed to be protected by her class, by her family, by her position, but once she's pregnant and can't explain it, none of that matters. She gets disowned, isolated, shamed. Her father literally throws her out of the house. That's not just a social collapse, that's an identity loss.
And the twist is, even when the truth comes out, when the Count admits what he did, her way back into society is to marry him. Like, what? She re-enters the system by agreeing to its rules, even after those rules betrayed her. That's not freedom. That's submission disguised as resolution. She doesn't escape, she adjusts. She survives, but only by pretending nothing happened.
Then there's Bruce Wayne in The Dark Knight Returns. At first you think, here's someone who actually has power, he's rich, he's a legend, he fights crime on his own terms, he chooses his mask, but digs deeper and you see, he's not escaping the system, he's reinforcing it. Gotham is full of chaos, inequality, and fear. And what does Bruce do? He brings more fear, more violence, he builds a new order, but it's still built on control. He even tells Superman in the 4th book, you sold us out, Clark. You gave him the power that should have been ours, just like your parents taught you to. That line is bitter. It's Bruce calling out even the heroes end up serving the system instead of dismantling it.
So whether it's Kim's trying to sneak into a better life, the Marquise struggling to regain her reputation, or Bruce creating a new version of order, none of them actually escape. They just find different ways to play within the same broken system.
And honestly, that's the most disturbing part. These stories don't say try harder. They say the rules are rigged. The more you fight them, the more you get exposed or co-opted.
Yeah, these stories aren't about how to win. They're about seeing the board you're playing on. And sometimes even realizing that, the best you can do is resist in your own small way.
So, after digging into these 3 stories, Parasite, The Dark Knight Returns, and The Marquis of Lowe, what really hits me is how all these characters push back against the role society gives them. They try every method, smarts, silence, strength, but in the end, nothing quite sticks. You can fake your way up, fight your way through, or even disappear completely, but the system always seems to find you.
Right, and sometimes the attempt to escape ends up revealing just how deep you're trapped. The Kim's family whole scheme in Parasite is brilliant until it falls apart, and the fallout isn't just about getting caught, it's about realizing that no matter how well they played their roles, they were never welcome in that world to begin with.
Same with the Marquise. Her status doesn't protect her. Her innocence doesn't matter. The social order isn't interested in truth, just putting it back in a place where she can't challenge it. And Bruce Wayne, he might be the only guy with enough power to change things, but even then, he just ends up holding the wheel. He becomes the system. It's not like none of them ever really leave the cage. They just decorate it differently.
So yeah, it's a rough message, but it's a real one. Class, gender, status, they're not just external forces. They shape how others see us and how we see ourselves. They get into the core of your identity, sometimes without you even knowing it.
But maybe that's the first step, seeing it, naming it. These stories don't hand us easy answers, but they give us something better, clarity. They show us how the game is played, and once you see the board clearly, maybe, just maybe, you can start changing the rules.
Thanks for hanging out with us today.
And don't forget to follow the show. We'll be back soon with more stories that mess with your head in the best way.